Hello all, welcome to our channel. So today we will talk about LoRaWAN, which is widely used in many applications. So we'll talk about the applications as well later. So LoRaWAN basically stands for Long Range Wide Area Network. So it is basically a communication protocol which helps the sensors to communicate with the gateways and basically defines the network architecture. So is LoRaWAN maintained by LoRa Alliance, and LoRa Alliance, LoRa basically defines all the modulation related techniques and the other things that are related to the physical layer, whereas LoRaWAN, as we mentioned, we talks about the protocol and then the network architecture. So talking further, LoRaWAN basically, as we mentioned, is used in many applications, especially the Internet of Things, the IoT, which is one of the most booming applications that are seen these days. Every engineer we see says he's talking about he works on IoT, right? So some of the applications like smart cities, asset tracking, smart buildings, industrial applications like what we talk about IIoT, all these use LoRaWAN for its communication. And what are the advantages? Basically, why should we use LoRaWAN? So one of the major advantages is that it consumes low power, and it has a longer battery life because the power consumption is lesser. It gives a longer battery life. The cost advantages are there, and then one of the major point is that it can be used for lower data rates. Like if you want to send small chunks of data over a period of time at some specific intervals to a longer distances, LoRaWAN is the technology to go. And then the latency definitely is higher compared to others, and as we mentioned, the smaller packet sizes. And in the previous slide we talked about the data rate, right? So as the data rates are smaller, the packets that are being transmitted are smaller chunks. So these basically the LoRaWAN, because of it, can be used for doing any sensor related readings, which is one of the important thing in Internet of Things, right? So sensor readings is one of the major thing that is done here. And this LoRaWAN is especially based on the spectrum modulation technique, which is the the digital modulation that happens in the LoRaWAN module that we use for our communication. So what do we mean by spectrum basically here is that a specific signal is spread over a range of frequencies such that you have a wider bandwidth also available. And then one of the major advantage why we are going with LoRaWAN in many IoT applications is because of its longer range. So if we take the BLE or Zigbee, Z-Wave, all these communication modules, they have a lower range. So that is the major point that drives the LoRaWAN usage, because the range is higher, the power consumption is lesser, especially at a given power. So that's what drives LoRaWAN in many IoT applications. And then we need frequencies, right? The frequency bands. So this LoRaWAN basically uses the unlicensed megahertz radio bands, which we call the ISM bands, like the 433 kHz, 868 kHz, and the 915. So in India, 865 to 867 megahertz is what the range that is considered. So there will be number of channels around these bands. When we say channel, the number, the frequencies that are involved. Based on the particular region, those channels, channel frequencies are considered. And then, like the other modules, like example, if we have the cellular, we can do the firmware updates over there, right? The firmware updates over there, and considering the application code on the LoRaWAN module, and then the stack can also be updated over there. So now we will talk about LoRaWAN example, and then this is how the communication between the sensors and with LoRaWAN and then the gateway happens. So when we are talking about the sensor 1, we are saying that that has a LoRaWAN module which communicates to the gateway. So and then there is another LoRaWAN which talks to different sensors in the sensor 2 network. So number of sensors that way can be connected to a gateway over LoRaWAN, and then further the gateway communicates to the server over Wi-Fi, or whether it be cellular network, and then the Ethernet. So all the high speed and then the high power communication technologies that come at the output of the gateway, which are more related to the long distance transmission, whereas where you want to transmit the data to the server. And around these, one of the another important point we have to remember is between the sensors and the gateway, it is the bidirectional communication that happens. And then these are some of the modules. So the actual RF modulation technique that happens in the modulator is licensed to Semtech. So if you see any LoRaWAN modules, the RF example you can see here, the STM32WL, the world first LoRa SoC. So it has a microcontroller. And then the LoRa module integrated onto a single die. So this LoRa is licensed to Semtech. So if you see any LoRaWAN modules in the market, you see that the modulators from Semtech is used. So SX1276 is one example, and then you can see here at the bottom RHF series. This is also from Semtech, but this is a complete module, a LoRaWAN module. And then this is one more from Murata. And you can see on the left, these are the modules from LADE. So this RM1XX is a combination of Bluetooth plus the LoRaWAN module. So the advantage of having Bluetooth and LoRaWAN together is that the sensors can communicate over Bluetooth wirelessly, and instead of connecting them in series to these LoRaWAN module, and then LoRaWAN transmits data to longer distances or to a gateway situated at a particular location. So that way, reading from sensors and sending that data over LoRaWAN, both are wireless things that can be achieved using this BLE plus LoRaWAN module. And then this is an example of gateway from LADE, which is used for as a gateway to communicate the LoRaWAN data that is received to the server. So hope we gave a glimpse of the LoRaWAN module. So the important point to remember is that with the number of internet applications that are increasing day by day, we see that the usage of LoRaWAN has increased, considering its advantages with respect to the range, power consumption, and the battery lives that can be achieved. If you have worked on LoRaWAN and if you have any points to add, please post them in the comments. If you like our video, please press the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.